This is the voice of the New York Football Giants, Bob Papa, and you are listening to the best throughout Europe, the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast.
Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. As always, we are proudly in association with Andy's Man Club. Lads, remember, it is okay to talk. And tonight we will be, very soon, 75% British, 25% Irish. And as always, still 100% Giants. It's week 9, ladies and gentlemen. We are officially halfway through the 2025 NFL regular season. How? Where's the last 8 weeks gone? And we're back to give you our preview of this weekend's game against the San Francisco 49ers at MetLife Stadium. Craig's out on the lash tonight at a wedding, so hope you're enjoying yourself and having a few bevies. So help me to dive into this weekend's game. Currently joined by Kev and Aaron. Shane will be joining us very, very shortly. Boys, how we doing?
Yeah, good. Glad to be back on. Sorry I missed the Tuesday night's episode. I did manage to watch it though, so it was very, very good, lads. You know, it was a little colourful in places, but that was to be expected from the atrocities that we had to witness on Sunday evening down at Belushi's. But good to be on with you again and start to find out, you know, what can we get from this Sunday, this early kickoff Sunday, 6 p.m. against 49ers. You know, they're not the big name that they have been in recent years currently. So it'll be interesting to pick that apart.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why we were so upset about the way the season's gone so far. Don't forget, this is our second best start in the last 10 years. Like, you know, we're 2-6 again. It's better than 1-7. Like, we should all be really pumped at where we are in the season, and thank God we've got this easy second half of the schedule to jump into, where we've got no losing teams except maybe the Raiders.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough second half of the season coming up. It's a tough game to start the second half of the season on Sunday. We'll obviously go into the Niners in a bit, but yeah, I mean, it could have been a worse start to the season, but it also could have been a better start to the season. So I think we're probably about where I expected us to be. To be fair, obviously nobody expected really Jaxson Dart to come in so soon, and obviously what we've seen from him over the last 4 or 5 weeks has been really sort of positive. So I think we're probably maybe feeling a little bit more positive than we would have been at this stage with Russell Wilson on the centre still. Yeah,
definitely, I agree with that. I mean, there's been positives and there's stuff to get behind this season, and it does feel like a season that we sort of is being a little bit robbed from us. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. It's like Cam Scadaboo coming in and Jaxson Dart lighting the place up, giving the place some energy. You know, Neighbors going into his second season after a stellar rookie season, and an offensive line that's playing above average. Like, we begged for above average line play, and we're kind of getting that now. So all the stage was set for growth. I'm not saying we would have gone out and smashed teams by double-digit points or multiple scores, but it was kind of there to see growth and see the team move forward. And in true Giants fashion, it feels like part of it's been like a little bit ripped away and robbed from us, not only with the injuries and stuff like that, but also some of the shoddy calls that the referees have been laying out on us. I mean, it's hard enough when you're a bad team to try and progress and build on something. But then when you have the injuries that we've had, and it feels like the world is against you, especially when some of the referee calls, when you think that's a 55-45 call to us, and it's always seems to be going to the other team. So it is a positive season, and we are moving in the right direction. But I do kind of feel that we could have been, if things had just fallen for us the right way, get the rub of the green sometimes, as they say, that we could have been progressing a bit more. Now, I'm not saying we'd have a winning record, but I do feel like, the potential was there to really sort of kick on a little bit.
So I'm just going to give you a little piece where I feel we are, Kev. I don't want to blame it on the injuries. I don't want to blame it on the referees. I want to blame it on the Bowen.
Wow, fair play. I like that. I respect it.
At crucial times we've just fallen apart on defense, and you can look at the overall defense and be quite happy with the stats, but look at our third down defense. Look at our second and long defense. Like it's those critical moments. We're the worst on fourth down. I think we've allowed 86.9% conversions on fourth down.
It's crazy.
I mean, it is shocking. You can almost feel like I think I said this in an earlier podcast against season. I know we've gone a bit of a tangent, and it's early for a bit of a tangent. But Sheen's not.
I'm all for it.
I'm all for it, Craig. But like, I do feel if I'm Shane Bowen, and I think I said this before, I'm going down guns blazing. I'm sending the house. I'm going to just exotic it up, mix it up, get exotic, get a little bit frisky. Let's throw some things at them that they definitely aren't expecting, because what they're expecting at the moment is one of the most vanilla defenses in the NFL. So I'd be out there. Do you know what? The likelihood of me keeping my job at the end of this season is so small and remote. I'm going to stick some interest in on the film because I'm going to need a job next season. So why not go down and just play some fun defensive exotic football? That's what I would do if I was in his position.
That's it. You really would. And I mean, being one half of the defensive side of this podcast, I mean, what we've seen from the defense this season has just not been good enough. Plain and simple, not been good enough. There are plenty of positives to think about this season so far. And I said the two wins we have got so far come against the Chargers and against the Eagles. So there's two games there we've won. It's been like, all right, sweet. But then the games we've lost, they have been more often than not, they're games that we've lost rather than the other team has beat us. So it's I think there's just a little bit of frustration as well there. But let's get cracking with the show tonight. If you are watching live on YouTube, X, or Facebook, whichever platform you're on, get involved in the comments, as plenty of you have been already. Evening to you all. And also get your questions in for us if you have any questions. And we'll be calling the game at the end of it. So get your predictions into us as well. And Craig is watching live, so evening to you, mate, as well. Don't forget to like the podcast, like the episode, share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already, and feel free to leave us a review on your platform of choice. There we go. 5 stars would be fantastic. Up first, as always, is the news, and this weekend sees the first of our 2 designated legacy games for the 2025 season. With the second coming in week 15 against the Commanders. As usual, MetLife will be rebranded with throwback designs, including the end zones as well. Love to see it. It always looks really cool. And something to keep an eye out for on Vinted. The first 25,000 fans into the stadium on Sunday will receive a Phil Simms bobblehead. If anyone sees one on Vinted, send me the link and I'm probably going to buy it because I've got all the others up there on a shelf somewhere. So going to be looking out for that in the coming weeks and months on Vinted because God knows I love a collectible. Also, quarterback Rico Payton was designated to return to practice on Wednesday following his stint on IR. He was claimed off of waivers in August following release from the Saints. And the second-year pro appeared in 16 games last year with the Saints, recording 13 special teams tackles and had 1 pass breakup. Holty, the race is on, mate. Don't worry. Maybe we'll both get one. Is it going to go to the highest bidder as well? We'll see. But yeah, so Rico Payton's returned to practice. So it's probably good timing considering our lengthy injury report that includes multiple cornerbacks, I will add. Today's injury practice, so this has obviously come out fairly recently in the last sort of like half an hour, 45 minutes or so. Didn't practice. There's 3 quarterbacks on there. That's not looking good. Paulson Adebo with his knee, Cordell Flott with a concussion, and Art Green with a hamstring. Also, Dan Bellinger didn't practice with a neck injury. Jermaine Illuminor with a pec injury, and Chauncey Golston with also another one with a neck injury. Limited in practice, receiver Bo Collins with a quad, Javon Holland with a knee, and tight end Chris Manhertz with an undisclosed illness. Full practice, Jalen Hyatt with his wisdom teeth is back in the mix. Not that he's really done much at all this season. Safety Tyler Nubin is back in full practice with his foot injury. Rico Payton, like I said, has come off IR and practiced in full today. And Greg Van Roten as well. He wasn't injury related. He just was rested, so he's back in practice today. Now, obviously, with Dan Bellinger not practicing, he's been one of Dart's go-to targets over the last few weeks. Kev, how much will he be missed if he doesn't play?
Right, I've been thinking about this, right, when I was doing the offensive stuff. Daniel Bellinger, right, I think he's a huge miss because I think he's been so reliable as a pass catcher. I mean, he's definitely becoming a lot more reliable than Johnson has been. You know, he's been catching the ball. I mean, I had a quick look at Daniel Bellinger's stats, and you know, in 3.5 seasons, he's only had 3 drops, and his drop percentage is 3.6, right? Which is phenomenal for a pass catcher. You kind of want it below 10. You want it around the 7-8 mark type thing, but you definitely want it below 10. And for him to have a 3.6 drop rate is phenomenal. And just to give you a bit of context, in a season and a half for Theo Johnson, he's had, what's he had? 8 drops in a 1.5 seasons, a drop rate of 13.3. And that sort of drop down the sideline the past week was just sort of so stereotypical of the type of drops he has. I mean, like, is it a difficult catch? Maybe. Is it a catch you should be bringing in as an NFL starter? Hell yes. So for Daniel Bellinger, we've always liked him, and when he's been given the opportunity, he's produced. You've never come away thinking like that play Daniel Bellinger cost us, or doing stuff like that. He's never let you down when he's on the field. He gives us everything. All right, he's not a dynamic down the field runner, you know, getting massive separation and stuff like that, but he just does his job. And he was one of the for me, if he plays, he's going to be one of the key factors in our short game that I'll talk about more when we come to the offense. But just back to your question, I think he's becoming. I mean, we've been playing so many 12 personnel sets as well, one running back, 2 tight ends, because of the lack of wide receiver depth. So he's been seeing a lot of snaps recently, and he's been just catching everything that's come his way. So yeah, I think he's going to be a big miss, and I'm kind of hoping it's more precautionary and he will be able to play come Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. Let's hope so, because he's had an impact on games recently in the last few weeks. So we want to see him on the field come Sunday. Now, obviously, Aaron, our offensive line guru, Jermaine Luminor didn't practice today either. So if he doesn't go Sunday, who are you bringing in? Swing tackle James Hudson or Marcus Bowe?
So before I jump into that, just very, very quickly, I thought an evil thought I've had. Theo Johnson does he give you a little bit of the touch of the Evan Ingram, and not for the good reasons? Like some of those crucial that drop last week was a little bit Evan Ingram, like crucial third down drop ball. And hopefully, and he's still young. He's got time to improve on that and everything else. But yeah, that's just the sort of vibes that I get. And anyway, Jermaine Luminor, neck injury is not really what you want as an offensive lineman. Obviously,
No.
As much as people think it's all about upper body, it's generally about footwork and getting in the way. But you do have to deal with power and this kind of thing. So obviously, transferring that power from your lower body comes up through your core and into your opponent. And if he's trying to twist or whatever, then you kind of roll your body. It's really important that you're at full strength. So I would play Bowe hands down, and there's 2 reasons, right? One, he looked really good when he came in at left tackle. 2, obviously the Jermaine's contract situation means that he may not be on the team as much as we would all like him to be back. And I think we're all there that we'd like back. We know that he may not be back next year. So what's your answer at right tackle? Well, maybe it's Bo. This is a good time now in the season to find that out. And I think he's better than Hudson. Hudson, we knew when he came in, he was not going to be the answer as a long-term starter. He proved that when he started that he wasn't up for a left tackle. But just all of the upside, right? Get your rookie some experience, and as we'll talk on, what might be the easiest defensive front to go against all season as well. So we'll touch on that when we talk about the offense's route to victory.
Yeah, I think you have to go with Bo right now. Hudson had his one game that we won't talk about. Was it 4 penalties on the first drive? And I don't think we've really looked at him since then. But Illuminor will be a big miss, but I think Bo can slot in there and do a job. And let's face it, we're in a position with we're 2-6 through 8 weeks. Like I said, we're in the second half of the season now, and it's almost like with Bo on the field, we'll give him that opportunity to show what he's capable of, and also, like you said, with Illuminor's contract coming up as well, it allows us to evaluate the options we have at right tackle. And if Illuminor come the end of the season wants too much money, we can go, okay, cool. Like we've got a good enough replacement in Marcus Bow to be able to let Illuminor walk and find the money he wants elsewhere. So yeah, I think it'd be criminal to not go with Marcus Bow on Sunday, and I think we will, in all honesty. It's one of those positions on the offensive line. You don't really want to disrupt too much, and I think Bo's had more time on the field this year than Hudson has, and so I think maybe like it's probably the better time for him to come in now than Hudson. All right then, that'll be the rest of the news. That'll be the news. Sorry, that was all done and dusted. Onto the game. It's been a bit of a mixed bag so far for the 49ers. They're third in the NFC West with a 5-3 record, albeit with the Seahawks and Rams having had their bye weeks. So they're both sitting at 5-2. Obviously, the Niners at 5-3, half game back in the division, but they're 3-0 in their division as well so far. They beat all three of their divisional opponents so far, so they're not off to a bad start. I think the biggest problem that they've had so far, though, is injuries to key players. Obviously, Nick Bosa tore his ACL in week 3. Fred Warner broke and dislocated his ankle a couple of weeks after that, aka did a Cam Scatterboo. Brock Purdy's been missing in action since the end of week 2 with this whole turf toe thing. And receiver Brandon Ayuk is still rehabbing his ACL injury from last year. And they've not done too badly, but they've not really sort of gone crazy. They've yet to score more than 26 points in a game. They're averaging 20 points per game over their 8 games so far. Mac Jones has shown some sort of consistency at quarterback. They're scoring sort of between like 17 to 24 points per game, that sort of area. And it's a case of like if that's the ballpark we're sort of looking at for Sunday in terms of their sort of range of scoring, then I don't see why we necessarily can't score more than that and actually win this game. So we'll see what happens. But I think the one thing.
Touching that quickly, Dan. I know before you go on to your next point, because that's a great point you make. I was just looking at their actual schedule, and right, they came out and they won the first 3 games, but their last 5 games they're 2-3, and in those 5 games, like you said, they've scored 21, 26, 19, 20, and 15 points. So they had a bit of a hot start coming out of the gate, but I mean, again, that sort of like recency record doesn't scare you as much as their overall record does.
No, exactly that. And obviously with Purdy being out injured, it's been left to Mac Jones. And Mac Jones, we've seen him in New England. We've now also seen him in San Francisco. It's very, very up and down, very topsy-turvy. And he doesn't really fill you with a huge amount of confidence if you're a Niners fan. So it'll be interesting to see how much he relies on Christian McCaffrey. And I think he's probably the one threat on this offense that I'm sort of really like, oh, I just hope he doesn't have a breakout game for the year against us. You know, he's obviously a massively dynamic running back, but he's been used so much and so often in the passing game this year. Was it Aaron? You said he's got 51 receptions on the year so far this season. And it's like, that's for a running back to have that many receptions in through 8 games. It's crazy. It's almost unheard of. So, you know, he's been heavily used in both the passing and the run game. But when you've got a weapon like Christian McCaffrey, it's kind of rude not to use him, right? And he's been healthy, obviously, since the start of the season. There's been plenty of signs that he's still like to be feared. And like I said, coming off the back of one of the worst performances against the run I've seen in a long, long time, it wouldn't surprise me if they just hand the ball off to him and let him do his thing, because at this point we clearly can't defend against the run, and with someone like Christian McCaffrey, he can just tear us to shreds, and which I hope he doesn't do. I hope it's not a breakout game for him this season. I hope it's not a breakout game for the Niners this season, but you know, there's plenty of signs that potentially point towards that.
He's obviously always so heavily involved, and you never wish this on anyone, obviously. But he's probably due his annual little injury, you know, his little, nothing too major, just a little calf strain or something, you know, just something to limit his snaps this week. You know, if we get to him nice and early, lay a big hit on him nice and early, you know, get Dex so Dex really land on him, and you know, just rough him up a little bit.
Yeah, and he is prone to an injury here or there. You know, the fact that he's remained healthy through 8 weeks is to some maybe a little bit of a surprise, but he is definitely a weapon to be feared, and I think like we've got to really sort of keep our eyes on him this weekend, and try everything we possibly can to stop him, both, you know, through the air and on the ground as well. Now, offensively, then, Kevin, Aaron, both of you obviously are gurus on that inside of the things. Can we exploit this Niners defense without Nick Bosa and Fred Warner?
Well, yeah, that's the question, right? So even without, I think Bosa's got injured in the 3rd game, right? So they've been without Bosa most of the season. They're still only giving up 20.8 points a game, which is 8th in the league. And they're something that we haven't talked about too much since Jaxson Dart's come in, but red zone touchdown percentage. They're only giving up 52% touchdown rate on their opponents' visits to their red zone. So people having to settle for field goals or when they're getting down there. And thankfully, our kicking game was on point last week when it was required. So hopefully we don't have any. If we do have to settle for field goals, and we're good to go in that scenario. They have another point, and again, this does hurt a little bit. The 49ers defense has held its opponents to a total of 34 points in the 4th quarter this season. Remember, we gave up 33 points in a 4th quarter once this season as well, which is one less than they've done all season in the 4th quarter. That's the 5th fewest in the NFL. Interestingly, New Orleans also feature on that as the 4th best in that list. Another opponent from the Giants have had to place. And one of the reasons why they've been so good in the 4th quarter is the games have been close, and the opponents haven't had to necessarily chase the game so much. And they do have one of the best run defenses in the league. They're allowing about 107 yards per game. But I think that kind of doesn't necessarily justify how well their defense is playing against the run. PFF rate their DBs and linebackers as the 2nd best in the league against run defense. So we know their D line is hurt, is injured, it's kind of their weak spot, but their back 7 are really dominant. They hardly give up any explosive run plays. And obviously, Cam Scatterboo is out for us. We shift over to Tyrone Tracy. And actually, if you look at Tyrone Tracy since he's come in the league, one of the ways he's been successful is in explosive run plays. He's had 11 runs of 15 or more yards since he came into the league. He's only had one this season, which obviously was the touchdown 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, last week. And then 2 weeks ago. It was 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? Yeah. So that's going to be a really, really challenging. So perhaps where we might look to prosper in this game is in the passing game. So they're 25th ranked passing defense in yards per game, and opposing QBs are averaging a quarterback rating of 106. And Jaxson Dart has shown that he can evade the rush and find the open receiver. So talked about like a Mahomesian style ability of extending plays and then finding a receiver, and particularly not his primary read. So what we're seeing is he's able to come down the field and find that next guy. Something that Kyle Shanahan was quoted in the media talking about Dart this week, saying that he's showing elite level of reading the field and understanding his pocket and that kind of thing, which, you know, again, I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes, I'm not saying he's MVP candidate or anything like that. It's that style of play and ability that we haven't seen from our quarterback for a number of years in New York. So he might not even have to rely on his ability to evade the rush. So the 49ers ranked last in the league in sacks, averaging 1.1 per game. And that's, like I said, a D-line that's missing Nick Bosa, who is still second on the team with 2 sacks, and currently did not practice. Is Bryce Huff, who has 5 of their sacks, and who's got a hamstring at the moment. We'll find out later today on their injury report if he's going to go. But he missed last week with a hamstring. It's possible that he may miss again. Listen, so their sacks. The guys that have got their sacks, 7 of their, I think, 9 sacks that they have, has come from guys that might not even be on the field. So when it might be, when I mentioned it might be an easy game for Bo, this could be in terms of a pass rush, this could be the weakest pass rush we face all season. And Dart's already shown the ability to evade when things do break down. So it could be a really exciting thing. Obviously, we mentioned that Fred Warner's out as well. So it's not necessarily they've shown since he's been out. Obviously, went out week 6. It's not something that they've necessarily shown a weakness. The rookie linebacker has really stepped up for them, and their young secondary looks really, really strong. They have been linked with trading for Kayvon Thibodeau, and you can see why when we quote stats like that. You know, Kayvon would be second on their team already in sacks, and he's maybe the 3rd pass rusher in our rotation. Although all three of them have performed really well this season, and I'm not someone that I really want to see leave before the trade deadline. And it seems more like hope from 49ers fans and beat writers rather than something that's really in the works. Obviously, they've got a few receivers that could help us out, and maybe it would be beneficial for if we got that trade done long term. But at the moment, you know, let's not give them a pass rusher before we face them, right? So that could all be in the long term plan, knowing when the trade deadline lands. So another thing is the unit also only has a single interception, so we know what it's like when you go through a season not getting many interceptions. They've only got a single interception on all season, so it's not their pass defense has not been turning that ball over as well, and that kind of links back to that red zone defense. It's not red zone defenses where they're getting turnovers. it's red zones where they're forcing field goals. So again, something that we've seen from them. So in summary, and Kev will probably touch this on it in a bit deeper, but expect a large dose of Dart. Anyone you can get excited about that rookie quarterback, the what's now going to be the number one overall pick in it if it was a redraft. And he's playing at home, so just in his 5 starts, Dart's completion percentage is 66% at home compared to 56.7 on the road. His QB rating is 100.8 at home versus 86.2 on the road, and he's thrown 0 interceptions at home compared to 3 interceptions on the road. So he has shown his better performances have been at home. But he really needs is the support from a wide receiver and tight end room. Notice that Ray McLeod has changed his number from something in the 30s to 88, suggesting that he might get an elevation after being on the practice squad over a week now. And obviously Bo Collins dealing with an injury, potentially might not be able to go on Sunday. And Malik Neighbors is still second on this team with 271 receiving yards, which is pretty impressive when we've had a bunch of guys we know outside of Slayton and One-Dale. We haven't seen many receptions from anyone else over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, at the wide receiver position, we've had Bellinger and Theo Johnson do some of the work in that room as well. But yeah, we're really, really struggling at wide receiver. So although I'm expecting a large dose of Dart, has he got the supporting cast to go with him? And that's going to be really interesting to find out. And Kev, I'm sure you'll touch a bit more on those side of things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just to lead on from what you said, like one of the players that's going to have to step up and is going to have a good game, and I believe that he will. And I'm telling people now, don't sleep on Tyrone Tracy Jr. He had 839 rushing yards and over 1,100 total yards last year as a rookie, and really sort of, for what was a dire season, was one of the bright spots. Having the neighbors and him go for plus 1,000 yards. It was only a season ago, and if it wasn't for Scadaboo being such a phenom and being such a beast coming in, he'd still be running back number 1, which he is now. He's a different style of running back to Cam. Obviously, shiftier. He's better in space. He's dangerous as a receiver. I want to see Dable sort of use him a bit more creatively. Outside zone runs, jet sweeps, motion looks. We're going to see some screens, wheel routes. He's excelled at catching those type of passes. And then, veteran Devin Singletary, he'll come in and he'll do, some of the pass protection snaps, some of the short yardage downs when we're in short yardage. But I want to see Tracy using his versatility to stretch the 49ers defense horizontally down the field, keep them honest, don't have them up in the box. And then, you touched on Jaxson Dart. I mean, he's just shown such great poise and mobility for being his first season. Him being able to extend plays has been phenomenal. His pocket movements excellent. His off-script playmaking has been exceptional. He is a threat with his legs. Yes, no, he's not Lamar Jackson, but he can definitely pick up the yards when needed, and the team has to respect it. Will we see Dable and Kafka, move the pocket a bit more often, run the RPOs and designed quarterback runs? We might see a little bit more of them. The secondary for San Francisco, pass coverage wise, although they've been excellent in the run game, but looking at their PFF grades for pass coverage, the last 4 weeks, they've been 35.4, 46.6, 45.2, and 49 in pass coverage. No one on that secondary scares you. So, this is a week when I want to see wide receivers they're not excellent wide receivers, no, but try and get it open, try and get into space, try and, if Jaxson Dart can extend plays, use that time to wriggle free and get yourself open for those catches to be made, because this is definitely the week to try and do that. Which obviously leads on, and the way that we're going to be able to do that is the trench battle. Do you mean the RO line against their pass rush? The O-line, like I said, has been playing above average, and that's all we cried for that last season, and it's trending upwards. We're getting better and better as the weeks go on. Andrew Thomas, what superlatives can we say more about him? He's healthy, he's dominant. He is one of the best left tackles in the league, and he's just going out there and putting all that on tape that us Giants fans know, and other fans across the league are starting to see it now. Jermaine Illuminor could be a miss if he's out, because he's just come in and solidified that right tackle spot. I mean, it went from the beginning of the season, Bo having such a good snaps and play, and it's like, okay, here's our tackle of the future. Jermaine was like, oh, hold my beer. I'm going to go out here. I'm going to show you that I am a top caliber starting tackle in this league. And now all Giants fans have come around to, okay, we want to sit Bo. We want to re-sign Illuminor. So if he's missing, I think it will be a drop-off. But Bo has shown, like Dana said earlier on, that he can come in and more than hold his own. And just to allude to what Aaron said as well, it's not a bad week for it. I mean, the two best players on defense, Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and IR, their best rookie this season, Alfred Collins, he looks like he's definitely a big question in the middle of that defensive line for Sunday. Their best pass rushers by PFF grades, and Bryce Huff and Yatur Gross-Matos, who Shane knows from Penn State days, they didn't practice today, and there's some question marks over them. I know they traded for Keon White from the Pats this week, but that's this week. That's more of a band-aid plaster than someone to come in and to give real meaningful snaps. So I think that offensive line, if they can show what they've shown in recent weeks, keep Dart upright, allow this offense to attack a banged up 49ers secondary who have shown that they can be got in coverage, then I think that's a massive, massive key. And I don't mean to say it every week, but it's one of those things that it just means so much, is sustain drives. Do you know what I mean? Keep the chains moving with solid movement. Don't get yourself stuck in third and longs. I say feed Tracy early. Get him into rhythm. Get him balanced. Get him a nice balance of pass catches and rushes. I'm not saying go through him specifically, but definitely get him early. Get him on the move. I mentioned a second ago. Move the pocket. Get bootlegs, rollouts. Give Jaxson Dart one half of the field to read, which will make his reads a lot easier. Yes, it's taken away the other half of the field, but it'll make the reads easier and stuff like that. And if the play breaks down, he's able to pick up those yards with his feet as well. I mean, use the short passing game as an extension of the running game. Hit Tracy, hit Wan'Dale Robinson. God be it that Daniel Bellinger's fit on Sunday. He showed, right, he might not win down the field 80-yard bombs every week, like him squirm free like he did the other week for that awesome touchdown. But in short yardage situations, his reliability in catching the ball is phenomenal. We take advantage of that. And then when we get to the red zone, I want to see a little bit more creativity. And we haven't got that battering ram Cam to sort of bust through those short yardage red zone plays in the, I don't know what you call it, the red zone in the 10-yard line. So we may see, and be prepared for this, we may see Dart running the ball a bit more in those. You might see some designed QB runs, some option runs, and stuff like that. And it comes down to we say it all the time. You see it every week in the league. Win the time of possession. Long drives, keep the chains moving, like I said, because you want to keep someone like McCaffrey off the field. Because the more time he's on the field, the more touches he gets, the more he can light up their offense. As our offense, we want to stay on the field and be methodical and get ourselves down. I mean, don't pass up the big splash play if they're there, obviously. But definitely want to see is sort of win that time of possession. So again, in summary, I think losing Scadaboo hurts. But I think Tracy, He offers a dynamic, a multi-dimensional option against this defense that, it gave up 150 yards on the ground last week to the Texans, and the Texans aren't a good football team at the moment. So let's take advantage of that. I mean, I want to see more growth from Dart. Like Dan said, if this is a redraft, everyone's saying he's going number 1 overall instead of Cam Ward. I want to see more growth. I want to see we're at home. So again, Aaron was talking about those stats saying no interceptions at home. I hope he hasn't jinxed them now. I'll be coming for you if he throws one. But I just want to see him just, show that growth. And it's an injury-plagued 49ers defense. Let's take advantage of it. This, like I've said, again, I've said in the past, let's be aggressive. Let's be sort of like a dominant offensive team and take advantage of the injuries and weaknesses in our opponent's defense. And if the O-line holds up, turnovers stay low, the Giants can hang on. I think the 49ers are there definitely for the beating for us at home this week. And what an awesome week would be, at home in the legacy uniforms that everyone says should be our home uniforms. They are a lovely, lovely sight. But I think, if we can kind of stick to those principles, and then, I mean, I think we can go out and put a few points on the board this week.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to look back at the game last weekend against Houston, right? And I don't think anyone really expected the Texans to win that game because it's the Texans. And it kind of I feel like we're at kind of a similar level to Houston at the moment in terms of, where we are as a franchise. And I think you're absolutely right in terms of the fact that they gave up so much yardage on the ground. And I think Tracy is a key piece in this offense that can exploit that side of the defense. But also as well, what's his name? Why can I not think of it? CJ Stroud. 318 yards and 2 touchdowns. Why can Jaxson Dart not have a bit of a breakout game and exploit that secondary?
And his receivers aren't great.
He threw passes to 9 different receivers last week. So it's like, why can Jaxson Dart not do something similar and spread the ball around and make some plays?
So let me ask you, Dan. Let me ask you. So who do you think? Who do you think will have a bigger impact in this game? Do you think Tracy will or Wan'Dale Robinson?
I think Tracy will, because Tracy is that dual threat. He's like you said, he's shifty in the backfield. He's good sort of outside the tackles, and in space as well. And I think he's more of a threat in through the air as well, like on those different kind of routes, like you were saying. I think we can utilize him in that side of the game as well. And let's not forget as well, you got Devin Singletary. He can come into this game as a sort of complementary back to Tracy as well, and he's still got a bit of fuel in his motor. Exactly, and he's not seen the field much this season, so we're definitely going to, because he's RB2, we are going to rely on him more. And I'm in 2 minds whether we see it or not. But do we see an elevation for Turbo Miller this weekend?
I wouldn't be surprised.
So there's potentially we've got the speed there in Turbo, and we've got the elusiveness, I suppose, of Tracy, and just that sort of a bit more power from Devin Singletary. So we could potentially have a little bit of a 3-headed beast in the backfield there this weekend. And again, potentially utilize this. And Devin Singletary is not half bad in through the air as well. So potentially utilize those weapons there. And with Ray McLeod, could he come in and provide another weapon for Dart? Probably, yes, he could. We've got Lil Jordan Humphrey, we've got Darius Slayton, we've got Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, even maybe. I don't know. Who knows at this point?
Game, can you imagine?
Who knows with Jalen Hyatt at this point? Nobody knows. But I think one thing that's really, really, really key for us to win this game, like you said, Kev, is sustaining drives and managing the clock well, and dominating that time of possession. You look back to the game last weekend again against Houston. Houston dominated the time of possession 41 minutes to 19. And that was massive. and it just didn't allow San Francisco time to put points on the board. Didn't allow much time to put points on the board at all. So there's some really sort of key areas there that I think that we can potentially exploit on offense this weekend. Cool. Should we talk defense for a little bit? Let's do it. Now,
that's fun.
Yeah, we have to. We have to, unfortunately. Now, everybody knows my thoughts about the defense from last weekend. It was plain to see and plain to hear on Tuesday night. We've gone from J.K. Dobbins, who is a decent back, to Saquon Barkley, who just absolutely torched us, plus Tank Bixby as well. We've now got Christian McCaffrey coming to MetLife this weekend. And looking at this defense, looking at this run defense, that puts the fear of God into me. I just really fear that this is going to be a breakout game this season for CMC on the ground. We've seen games from him before where he just breaks off for 200 plus yards, 3 touchdowns, scores something stupid like 50 fantasy points, and he just has a field day. I really, really, really hope that we don't see that from him on Sunday, but at the same time, I'm just so nervous. I just don't. The defense we saw last week, if we see that any sort of resemblance of that again this week against the Niners, I think we get torched. I think they just have a field, even with Mac Jones on the center. He doesn't really have to do much. Our secondary's poor. Our secondary's really weak in terms of depth. The fact that 3 of our cornerbacks are on the injury report, didn't practice. That leaves us with Tay Banks as CB1 right now. And that puts the fear of God into me. Tay Banks can't cover for shit. And, yes, they've not got any particularly, decent receivers at the moment. I say decent receivers. I mean, they're all the receivers are decent, of course they are. But, do they have any sort of real wide receiver one that could really threaten this secondary? No. But they've got Mac Jones, who, like I said, has shown consistency in his starts so far this year. And all it takes is for this soft-ass bullshit defense that we've seen time after time after time so far this year. And it could all go really seriously wrong really, really quickly. What we can't see is the Niners taking an early lead. Because look what happened Sunday. Every time we've lost a game this season, it almost feels like we've been playing from behind, apart from obviously Denver, which we won't go into. We've been playing from behind and we've really struggled. And we've not been able to get that sort of, just to be able to control the game on offense in terms of run the ball, open up play action, throw in a few RPOs, a few screens here and there. We haven't been able to do that because we've been chasing the game so much. So this defense really needs to just put up and shut up and just stop what this Niners offense is trying to do. What we also need to do as well is limit the amount of penalties we're giving away on defense. Because where did I see this stat earlier? We're giving up 38.1 penalty yards on defense so far each game this season. That's the second worst in the NFL. You're essentially you're giving away 38 yards a game just through penalties, just by referees throwing the flags, and that's just not good enough. We need to be more disciplined. We need to be, that defensive front needs to be disciplined and not be jumping offside or not, going into the neutral zone. We need to limit the amount of flags and limit the amount of penalties that's being called on this defense. Doesn't help the secondary is rubbish at the moment, so they're not exactly doing particularly well in coverage, and we're getting the pass interception penalties, which we know the DPI from the weekend on was it on Corey Black? That was a bullshit call, but hey, look, it's called and it is what it is. But I think if the 49ers do commit to running or using backs in space, then one thing we've got to do as well is tackle cleanly. We've got to tackle and we've got to bring them down. Second player of the game last week, Darius Musa misses a tackle. Barkley breaks off for a 65-yard touchdown. Across the rest of the game, we missed 7 tackles. And it's just the discipline and the finishing is just not good enough, and we're not seeing it enough at the moment. What also the Niners tend to be good at is being good late in the game. They've shown that across the season so far, is that they still remain strong throughout the entire game. They remain consistent and remain focused throughout the game. Whereas sometimes the Giants defense towards the end of the game can sort of tail off a bit. Look what we saw against Denver. So again, moving into that fourth quarter, if the game's close, we really, really, really need to keep it tight. We can't be, we can't, like we said before, we can't be going into prevent defense. We really need to just play what we see on the field rather than just try and prevent. No, just go for it. And what I want to see as well is I want to see effort. I want to see effort from the secondary, especially because with the injuries we've got, with the injuries that are going to have an impact on the secondary, we need to see effort from the guys that are back, the backup guys. We need to see that effort from Tay Banks massively that we just haven't seen this year. And I think if we can, square up against McCaffrey and we can limit his yardage. Houston limited him to under 100 yards last week, limited him to 25 yards on the ground last week. That makes them one-dimensional, and it makes them go through the air. Their passing attack isn't amazing, but then our secondary isn't amazing either. So it could be a very sort of tit for tat, backwards and forwards game. I think these teams are fairly evenly matched, and I think Steve made a great point earlier in the comments, saying they're quite deceiving with their record. They are. They won their first 3 games of the year, and then since then, like we said, they're 2-3. Well, we're 2-3 over the last 5 games as well. So it's like, we're kind of very sort of even Stevens with them over the last sort of month or so. And I think it could come down to really, really fine margins this weekend. So what we've got to do, tackle well, limit penalties, finish strong. And we force predictable situations as well. Force them into the second and third and longs. But don't let them convert, because we're awful, like Aaron said, at letting second and third and long conversions. Even if we get to fourth down, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, the other team's going to convert more often than not. And also exploit favourable situations as well. Use favourable passing. The sort of looking at the 49ers passing game, you matching up well against their receivers. Challenge them deep. Make them look deep. Make them into that one-dimensional passing attack by stopping Christian McCaffrey on the ground. If we can do that, then we've got a great chance of winning this game. But it is a big if, because this defense isn't performing anywhere near as well as we should be. The defensive front, the pressure is there. If we keep on getting that pressure on Mac Jones, we're going to force Mac Jones into making mistakes, because we've seen him make plenty of mistakes in his career so far. But my fear is if we don't get that pressure on him, we allow him that time to make plays and pick us apart. He can pick our secondary apart just as much as Brock Purdy could have done. So it's going to be a really interesting game for this defense on Sunday. The 49ers passing attack, it's not the best, but we're giving up too many yards through the air. We're giving up over 230 yards a game through the air. So they could exploit us that way, but we're also giving up a stupid amount of yards on the ground as well. So they could exploit us in both areas. So it's going to be a tough game for this defense, but at the same time, I think it could be a get right game for this defense as well. Now, obviously, with Adebo and Flott looking unlikely to go on Sunday, along with Art Green as well, Aaron, how worried are you about our lack of depth at corner right now?
Yeah, incredibly, right? So it's something that if we go back to when we did our 53-man roster predictions, we all couldn't see how we could, keep the extra guys on the field on defense. We had quite a lot of guys on offense, and sure enough, we've got these 4 tight ends, of which Fedoni's struggled to see hardly any time on the field. Although we're playing a lot more 2 tight end than I'd hoped. But we've been really thin at linebacker a couple of games this season. That's kind of stabilized a little bit, and we're now thin in the secondary. And hopefully, number 8, Javon Holland, jersey right here, is
Lies.
It has Holland on the back, I promise. If he's good to go, maybe we'll see a way of sneaking in more three safety looks, because we've got 3 decent safeties. It's really what's the plan around Christian McCaffrey, right? So we saw a little bit of struggles when they moved Dallas Goedert out to a wide receiver position and relying on Bobby O and Musau to actually get that cover. And actually, should we be playing an extra safety to be that covering that guy in front? We know how dangerous Christian McCaffrey is in the pass game. An extra safety helpers there. Is that a way of mitigating potentially 3 of our DBs being unable to go? I would say with Flott not practicing today, just from the concussion protocol, that seems unlikely. He can get enough practices in to clear concussion protocol, so I would say he's probably going to be out. And yeah, so that's what really worries me about that. The impact of that, we've also seen from, one of the reasons our run defense has been so poor. Missed tackles, yes, or willing to take on the blocks, yes, but we quite often see Bobby O making the tackle when he comes screaming across the field, but he's 8 yards in our backfield making that cut off. And actually, I don't know if that's a scheme thing. I'm not the biggest fan of Shane Bowen and the scheme, and maybe that's something that
really
is he was supposed to be this brilliant run defense guru. I've not seen anything.
Bollocks.
I've not seen anything from him. So yeah, I think I'm very worried about the cornerback situation, but it's something that I don't think we address this season. It's something that I wouldn't be surprised if we spend 5 of our 6 draft picks on defense. Going into this year's draft, because it feels like the depth on our defense is where the issues is, not necessarily the starting 11, but it's that depth, and then probably a superstar wide receiver or offensive lineman as the only offensive guy that we bring in.
Yeah, and I mean, we struggle to cover tight ends at the best of times. Now, in San Francisco, they have a man by the name of George Kittle. And they also have, what's his name? Tonjes, isn't it? And the Niners passing attack are currently 2nd in the league in terms of yards per game. Let me find the stat somewhere. There we go. Yeah, just shy of 260 yards through the air per game. Now, with this secondary being as beaten up as it is, it's kind of it's a little bit scary to think that they have 2 tight ends there in George Kittle and Jack Tonjes that could really do some damage. And obviously, George Kittle came back he was out injured for a month, but in the 2 games he's played since then, he didn't catch a single pass in the win against Atlanta, and he caught 4 or 5 targets for 43 yards and a touchdown last week against Houston. Could this be a George Kittle breakout game, Kev?
Yes. He's playing our defense, so of course he's gone back. He's slowly getting back up to health and full speed, and he's going to go for, I don't know, 7 catches, 80 yards or something silly like that, and 2 touchdowns or something silly.
Just want to say 2 touchdowns as well, yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, just look at Dallas Goddard, and it's just painful
Yeah.
watching us go against tight ends. But I don't know. I think I'm definitely leaning towards the playing the extra safety, like Aaron was saying. I mean, because obviously I think in the passing game, not Kittle and CMC will be heavily involved because their wide receivers just aren't doing it. I mean, Jennings is okay, but the other wide receivers, just don't scare me or just haven't really produced this season. So I think those two are the real ones to watch. So do we take a linebacker off the field and put on an extra safety? You're giving away a little bit in the actual run game. You really need that front four to step up and stop the run. I think Dex needs to have a big game against the run to be able to afford you to make that personnel change. But I definitely, that's the way I would go. I'd bring on extra safety because I think this could be a heavy Kittle and CMC game.
Yeah, me too. I think that's probably a really good idea to do that because those two absolutely terrify me. Looking at the Niners stats so far this season, they've 14 different receivers have caught passes so far this year for them. Christian McCaffrey leads all receivers in terms of yardage with 559 and 3 touchdowns. You've got the likes of Ricky Pearsall, which if he's still on the injury report, he didn't practice again. If he's missing for the Niners, that could be a big miss for them because he's turned into quite a good little receiver, especially after missing the entire last year after he got shot, didn't he, in the chest? So he's turned into quite a good little receiver for them. And looking at some of the veterans as well, Marcus Valdes-Scantling, he's been around the league for a few years now, won a couple of rings with the Kansas City Chiefs, so he's been there and done it and knows he knows what to do.
By then, wasn't he?
Huh?
Was he dropped by then?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
Right, carry on talking, my look.
But they've also got Sky Moore as well. So he could potentially be a threat, but he's only caught 4 passes so far this year. So their passing game and the running game, it is quite scary. It's quite a scary thought coming up against them this week. But at the same time, I think they could potentially be there for the taking as well. It's a really tough game. We were talking before we came on air. It's a really, really tough game to call this week. It's 2.5 point spread at the moment in favor of the Niners, considering we're at home as well. It says to me that the bookies are favouring the Niners quite heavily there. But it could go either way. It really could. Nobody expected them to lose really last weekend to the Texans, and they did. So it could go our way come Sunday. Now here's one for you boys as well before we get into predictions. The last time the Giants beat the San Francisco 49ers at home was October 2015 in a 30-27 victory. Eli Manning went 41 of 54 for 441 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Beast.
Mate, Eli came up clutch when he needed to.
Hall of Fame.
Mate, it's criminal that he wasn't in the Hall of Fame last year. Can you name the Giants' leading rusher from that game and also the 3 receivers that caught touchdown passes from Eli?
2014.
2015.
Beckham?
Beckham was one of the receivers. Yeah, he went 7. He caught 7 passes for 121 yards and a touchdown.
Was Bradshaw the running back?
Bradshaw wasn't the running back. So the Giants' leading rusher in that game.
No, Orleans Darkwa.
Nope.
Or Jacobs?
Nope.
Rashad Jennings.
Rashad Jennings was the lead back that game. Let me find his stat line. I think it was something like, it wasn't huge, but what about the other 2 receivers?
Ruben Randall.
Who caught touchdown passes? Wasn't Ruben Randall, no.
Corey
quite a tough one, this.
Washington.
Nope. It isn't an easy one. This Rashard Jennings, 11 carries, 46 yards. That was it. He was the Giants leading back that game. We had 84 total rushing yards that game.
Was the other one a receiver or tight end?
There is the other two. So you've got one running back and one tight end that caught touchdown passes.
Larry Donnell.
Larry Donnell was one of them.
Remember Larry Donnell?
6 catches for 35 yards and a touchdown.
Jesus. And a running
Give
back.
up on the running back?
Darkwa?
Nope. Shane Vereen.
Shane Vereen.
He actually led the team with catches with receptions in that game. Had 8 catches for 86 yards and a touchdown.
Jesus, there you go.
There you go. Bonus point then. Who was the 49ers starting quarterback that game?
Alex Smith?
Nope.
Who was it? Oh, Kaepernick.
Colin Kaepernick. Yeah. Colin Kaepernick.
Still wants to play in the league, apparently.
Yeah, he went 23 of 35 for 262 yards and 2 touchdowns. 1 to Anquan Boldin and 1 to tight end Garrett Selleck.
There's a surprise.
A tight end. There we go. Exactly that. And their leading rusher in that game was Carlos Hyde. He had 21 carries for 93 yards and a touchdown. There we go.
Just quickly, Dan, just to touch on some of the practice news from 49ers. Purdy is now taking snaps at QB, but he's not running with the ones, so it's not expected for him to come back, but it's possible.
Okay.
Don't want to mislead anyone saying that he's definitely out. He could still be back, but and then you mentioned about Christian McCaffrey and having a field day. Let's hope it's a Justin Fields day rather than a field day, right? Because we'll take that all day.
Absolutely.
And underneath the thing, but yeah, it's a really interesting game. The one thing we didn't touch on is we both said that they've not scored too many and they've limited teams to points. If you take their average, the over under is 4.5 points above that point. So clearly Vegas thinks this is going to be a slightly higher scoring game. They don't trust the defenses to keep the offenses under wraps. So be prepared for another shootout, and whoever has the ball last is maybe the difference maker.
Quite possibly. Who's their kicker?
They got rid of.
I think his name.
They got rid of one, didn't they?
It's currently Jake Moody.
Jake Moody?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's not. It's Eddie Pinheiro.
Pinheiro, yeah.
Eddie Pinheiro.
Yeah, they got rid of Jake Moody. It's not Eddie Pinheiro.
There you go.
Yeah, 5 hours ago. Yeah. So it could come down to a lot. It could come down to a walk-off field goal, couldn't it? Really interesting. All right, then let's get on to predictions. That's the season so far. So, Kev, you predicted 3 games correctly so far this year. Aaron, still just the lonely one in your column there, but a little bit of reverse psychology never goes amiss. Craig is predicted 2 of 8 so far. And then come the big boys. Here we come. Myself, 5 of 8. Myself, 5 out of 8 correct, and Shane 6 out of 8 correct. So, are we gonna go with the same prediction this week, or me and Shane gonna go for a different prediction? Let's find out.
I don't know if in our little Survivor League, Shane hasn't lost in Survivor either yet.
No, he hasn't.
Shane is Mystic Meg, right? He seems to have the inside run on all of these results.
But I will say as well, in our betting syndicate so far this season, in moneyline picks, I'm 8 of 8. Yeah, boy. 100% on moneyline picks this year so far. Nice. So here we go. Maybe there's a reason me and Shane are leading the way. All right, predictions then for the game. So, Kev, you're up first. Who have you got?
So I've gone with back and forward game. But I think we'll have just enough. And I'm going to back Tyrone Tracy as well to have over 100 total yards and a touchdown in this game. And I'm going to see the Giants go out and not convincingly, but nicely win 28-21.
28-21 Giants. All right. I mean, I'll take it. I'll absolutely take it. Aaron?
Yeah, so
he's going for a Giants win, surely.
Well, I am going for a Giants win. I'm going back to the well, so I'm predicting a 24-28 Niners victory because the reverse psychology of my scores going the other way.
See.
So yeah, definitely a Giants win, but through the route of predicting a 28-24 49ers win.
Interesting. Okie dokie. Craig is up next. Obviously, he's not here, so I've got his. Very, very similar to yours, Aaron, and not too dissimilar to yours either, Kev. Craig is going for a 28-26 49ers win. That is I'm 28-26. I'm hoping that's not a walk-off touchdown. Is Kev going to be lone wolf in it? Is he going to be lone wolf in it? Well, it's me up next. And I just can't look past this lack of run defense in Christian McCaffrey. 31-24 Niners win for me. I think it's a breakout game for them. I really do. And last but not least is Shane. And again, Shane's unfortunately not been able to make it on this evening. He's had issues getting home from work. So he sends his love to everybody. This might surprise you. Or it might not. Shane's gone for us 33-16 Niners win. So Shane's gone for a blowout victory for the Niners. So Kev, get howling. Kev's lone wolfing it this week. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Like we said, it is so close to call. And Shane's obviously gone for a bigger margin of victory, but the rest of us have all gone pretty close. I mean, I've got it as a touchdown game. The rest of you got it. I mean, Kev, you've got it as a touchdown game as well. Aaron and Craig, it's a very, very tight game. So it's going to be interesting, put it that way. We're looking forward to watching the game on Sunday.
Craig's obviously seen the game almost identically to me, but obviously the difference is we're getting a safety in Craig's game. And I wonder if some of the comments this week has fired Dexter Lawrence up to just dominate that interior line.
Why are we getting a safety?
Well, Dexter Lawrence is good.
Yeah, maybe. Or Craig's gone 2 touchdowns, 4 field goals. Do you trust Graham Gano that much?
I don't trust Dable that much to kick the field goals when we're in range.
No. But no, we've all got it being a pretty tight game apart from Shane. I think Shane has very little trust in this defense. But we'll see what happens Sunday. We have had a couple of predictions in the chat. If you haven't got your predictions in yet and want to throw them in quickly, please do. Steve, evening, and also happy birthday, young man. Hope you had a good day. Steve's gone for a 27-21 Giants win. Not overly fearful of the Niners, to be honest. Even Christian McCaffrey. Interesting. Thanks for getting your prediction in. Kieran, evening, mate. He's gone for a 27-20. I'm guessing that's a 27-20 Niners win. As it's a defeat, so yeah, that makes sense. That's all the predictions we have in the chat. I just want to say, evening, Psycho Bueller. Thanks for listening. Appreciate your love. Yeah, there we go. So that's our game predictions. I just hope it's a good game. I really do, and I'm sure it probably will be. Unfortunately, that is all we have time for this evening. We're back on Tuesday night at the usual time to review the game. So make sure you tune in then. Anything else, Dad, before we go, guys?
No, just good to get on with you boys tonight. And yeah, about the game Sunday, 6 p.m. back to 6 p.m. kickoff. Clocks go back in America, over in the US on Saturday night. It's a huge game, I think. It's there to be won. I really do think the two teams match up really well, like you said before, Dan. So I'm really looking forward to this one, and I do feel that give us something again to get behind and get excited. After last week's debacle, I just wanted to sit on my sofa with a little one on Sunday evening, and sort of just get told off by my 5-year-old for screaming and shouting at the TV in a good way.
Yes, mate. Wakey, Aaron.
Well, it's
I thought you'd gone to sleep then.
no. I was just thinking about how many touchdowns Cam Scatterby going to score this week, and then I remembered.
Don't do it to yourself.
Oh.
We're not going to see him. Although there has been some great AI of him scoring touchdowns in a wheelchair.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I haven't seen him do a backflip in a wheelchair yet, but I'm sure he's practicing. And is that going through the corridors at MetLife going woo, like he's asked me to. Yeah, it's. I think it's a really interesting game, right? Like, this is Jaxson Dart at home. He's put 2 really good home performances in so far. Will we see that third home performance that really, and we live up to this kind of Fortress MetLife attitude that we could ride on that for the rest of the season? Even if he's got to do it all on himself and put a team on his back and go over the line. And wouldn't it be great if we could get a defensive touchdown as well?
I mean, it absolutely would be great if we could get a defensive touchdown.
Gee.
I would love it. But yeah, we've won 2 games at home so far this year. We beat the LA Chargers. We've beaten the Philadelphia Eagles at MetLife. Let's go out there on Sunday and let's make it 3 wins at MetLife. Let's give these fans something to cheer about, especially on Legacy Weekend as well. I just think it'd be a really, really sweet way to end the sort of first half of the season, move into the second half, and look forward to the rest of the year. I just want to say a big shout out to producer Craig. He's at a wedding this evening. He's had 6 pints of Guinness, 3 tequila rosés, a Jaeger bomb, and a baby Guinness. It's a Thursday night. He's got work at 9 a.m. I hope your head's not too sore, mate.
Hero.
Absolute hero. What a legend. He will be back on Tuesday, as we all will be. Check out our socials for the latest news. Follow the links in the description to find where we are. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. Hit the bell to be notified on when we go live. Appreciate everyone watching and listening this evening and getting your comments in and predictions too. We appreciate all the love as usual. My thanks as ever go to Kev and to Aaron for joining me. We're signing off. Until next time, let's go Giants.